The Civil War is tearing America apart. And deep inside Confederate territory, an enslaved foundational black American named Robert Smalls is quietly preparing to change history. By day, he works aboard a Confederate military ship surrounded by armed soldiers, cannons, and men who believe slavery will last forever. But Robert Smalls is paying attention at every signal, every checkpoint, every movement through that harbor. The Confederates see him as property, invisible, powerless. But beneath the silence, Robert Smalls is planning something almost impossible. A daring escape through one of the most heavily guarded harbors in the South, with his family and other enslaved foundational black American families on board. If he fails, they die. If he succeeds, they reach freedom. Before this night is over, Robert Smalls will attempt one of the boldest acts of resistance in American history.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to drink and lay next to a warm woman.
But aren't we supposed to be guarding the ship? Who's gonna watch those Negroes? What if they try to get away?
Listen, Greenback, them Negroes ain't gonna do nothing but stay in their place. You think a nigger can drive a ship? They don't know their ass from a hole in the wall.
I guess you right, Bob. And I could sure use a cold one.
Let's get out of here. We'll make it back to the ship before sunrise, like we always do.
The Confederate officers on the CSS Planter warship made a mistake common during slavery. They underestimated the people they controlled. To them, the enslaved foundational black American crew was just workers. Men expected to follow orders, stay silent, and never challenge the system around them. So night after night, the officers lowered their guard. They laughed, they drank, they left the ship in the hands of the very men they believed had no power. But Robert Smalls was watching everything. Every whistle signal, every checkpoint, every movement through Charleston Harbor. He learned the harbor routes, the military signals, the routines of the white officers who believed slavery made them superior. The Confederates thought they was being served by obedience, when in reality, they was being studied. And the greatest mistake they made was believing the men they enslaved was too broken to fight back. That arrogance would cost them a Confederate ship and help turn Robert Smalls into a legend.
The coast is clear. Tonight is the perfect night for us to get out of here. Thank God. Now we've been going over this for years. Ain't no turning back. We getting out of here. I want to die. This thing is slavery. We gonna make it to the Union side. Your favors are waiting on us. That's gonna be the first stop. Then we go to the checkpoints. We know what we need to do. Now let's drive this goddamn ship straight into freedom.
Quietly, Robert Smalls and the crew put their plan into motion. As the ship slowly pulled away from the dock, Smalls stepped into the role of a Confederate captain. He stopped at another location to secretly pick up their wives, children, and family members late night along the harbor. One by one, enslaved foundational Black American families quietly aborted the CSS Planter with their hearts racing in the darkness. There would be no second chance. One wrong move, one wrong signal, and the escape was over. If the Confederates discovered a plan, everyone on board could die before sunrise. But Robert Smalls had spent months studying the ships, every movement through Charleston Harbor committed to his memory. The signals, the routes, even the behavior of the officers who underestimated him. In the distance sat Fort Sumter, one of the most heavily armed Confederate forts in the South. Cannons lined the walls. Soldiers stood watch over the harbor waters below. Any suspicious movement, and the escape ends in gunfire. So as the ship approached the fort, Smalls give the correct Confederate signals. Then everyone waited. Seconds felt like hours. And then the impossible happened. Fort Sumter allowed the ship to pass. Slowly, the stolen Confederate ship glided beyond the guns of Charleston Harbor, carrying enslaved foundational Black American families away from slavery and into freedom. And before the sunrise over the Atlantic, Robert Smalls does the impossible. He steals a Confederate ship right from beneath the Confederacy itself.
We pass the checkpoints. Take that Confederate flag down, put that white sheet up. We getting close to the Union Harbor. We got our American piece. This an enemy ship with a lot of gunners and ammunition on it. We don't want these white folks trying to kill us.
As the CSS Planter moved further into the darkness beyond Charleston harbors, Robert Smalls and the families on board wasn't safe yet. Ahead of them, Union ships waited in the night. From a distance, the Planter still looked like a Confederate vessel. Union officers quickly spotted the ship moving across the water. Soldiers prepared for possibilities of an attack. From the deck of the Union fort, officers raised binoculars toward the darkness, trying to see the approaching vessel before it get too close. Then they saw it, a white flag moving in the night. Foundational Black American families standing openly aboard the ship. Women holding children, men who just escaped slavery.
It's a Confederate warship waving a white flag. But what I don't understand, it's a bunch of Negroes on the ship. I don't see any soldiers.
In that moment, the Union officers realized this wasn't a Confederate attack. It was freedom arriving through the darkness.
Let it through. We need to know how the hell these Negroes get that ship.
The Planter slowly entered Union waters. Robert Smalls and the families on board crossed from slavery into freedom.
My name is Robert Smalls. I stole this Confederate ship and sailed thee to this Union Hall in hopes to get my freedom.
We don't have a fighting chance of winning this war without the Negroes. We have to recruit them in large numbers to the Union side.
Before sunrise on May 13, 1862, Robert Smalls did something the Confederacy believed was impossible. An enslaved black man stole the Confederate military ship, passed armed Southern forts, and carried FBA families out of slavery and into freedom. Not with an army, not with political power, but with intelligence, patience, courage, and a refusal to accept the limits slavery tried to place on his life. The Confederacy believed foundational black Americans was too powerless to challenge the system around them. But Robert Smalls proved something dangerous that night. The people slavery tried to silence was watching, learning, and waiting for their moment to fight for freedom. That truth is deeply connected to foundational black American history. Generation after generation, FBAs faced systems designed to hold them down, yet still found ways to build, resist, survive, and move history forward. That's why the story of Robert Smalls still matters today, because it's not just a story about escaping slavery, it's a story about courage under pressure, leadership in impossible circumstances, and what can happen when people refuse to believe they was born to remain oppressed. And before the sun rose over Charleston Harbor, Robert Smalls changed American history forever. Peace and love to the FBA family. FBA Stoic is gonna catch y'all in the next one.